Volunteers are vital to the success of Clark County. Whether you are a student, adult, family, or community group, the county will work with you to find a volunteer opportunity that best suits your interests, skills, and availability. To find what volunteer opportunities are available, we sat down with the county's volunteer coordinator, Karen Trout, and the Director of Public Works, Pete Capel.
Hello, I'm Jim Demo with Clark County Close-Up. Thank you for meeting with us.
Thank you.
First of all, why is volunteerism so important to this community?
Well, as a result of the recession, we've reduced the number of employees we have in Clark County government. So to provide the same level of service, we need to rely on volunteers to do things that was once done by staff. In addition, our community is so full of well-qualified, possibly retired or underemployed people with a lot of skills and interests that are interested in giving back and utilizing those services to help deliver the programs that our community so much wants.
Sure, it's kind of a win-win for both.
Absolutely.
The city, the county and the people. How many volunteer hours did the county receive in last year?
Several of our programs, like our parks program, actually track hours. We had 4,689 hours in the parks program. Some of the other programs don't count, but they gave me estimates, and we had well over 12,000 volunteer hours this last year.
What types of tasks are we talking about that are completed by volunteers?
Well, they're in a wide variety of areas. Parks, our watershed stewards do quite a bit of work on our watersheds, obviously. Master composters, recyclers. The Sheriff's Office has a number of programs, including disabled parking. They have some clerical support. They have some advisory boards. They have Santa's Posse every year. And then YWCA, which provides support to inmates. And then search and rescue groups. And then finally, the last group that we've got is in public health. Our medical resource corps have support emergency preparedness, disease outbreaks, or any emergency that might fall. Specifically in parks, the type of things we do can be a wide variety of things just to support and maintain a park. But most often it's park cleanups, it's dealing with invasive species, it's tree planting and raking leaves and anything else that just needs to be done.
Okay. What were some of the biggest volunteer events last year for the county?
There was a number. Like actually, the one that we had the largest numbers at was on Martin Luther King Day, and it was a cleanup at Frenchman's Bar Park with over 97 people. This past Monday on President's Day, we had 107 people volunteer to do tree planting out at Hawkinson. Unfortunately, if you remember President's Day, it was a little wet, but we still had 60 hardy souls who showed up and still helped out with that tree planting.
Made the shoveling easier. With the tightening budgets in the county, as you mentioned, are volunteers being looked to as replacements for employees?
No, they're not replacements, but with fewer employees, there's some of the work that is going undone, or we're only doing the minimum maintenance, and so to enable us to do a higher level of service, the volunteers come in and great help.
So for example, an employee might be operating large machinery, but the volunteer would be doing more of the manual, physical?
Well, that could be the case. Oftentimes, the volunteer work is just manual work without power equipments or machines. But and one of our setbacks or one thing we can't do is have volunteers operate Clark County machinery or power equipment, but it doesn't preclude them from using their own equipment if they're so inclined and would like to do that, provided that we've checked them out to make sure it's going to be safe for them and any other guest, as well as providing the level of skills necessary to do the work properly.
Okay. Now, as we know, local government, the landscape has changed. We've talked about it, it's no longer the same thing. Are you looking to further expand this volunteer program in the future?
Absolutely. I think that with the economy, I think we're going to continue to decline, and the needs out there are great. And fortunately, the community is willing to help out and volunteer and give something back to the community. So right now, we want to focus on building and further developing the parks program. But in the future, we want to use that as a model to be able to do almost any services that the county provides. We have a wealth of qualified retirees or underemployed people who do want to give back. And so we see us trying to fit the volunteer opportunity to the skills and interests of those individuals, which makes it a more rewarding volunteer experience for the individual and provides much greater value to the community.
Now, Karen, as volunteer coordinator for the county, do you oversee all volunteer opportunities within the county?
No, not right now. Currently, I am just overseeing the Parks Volunteer Program. But I also, I have connections within the county to talk with other departments if people are interested in public health, animal control. All those areas have, volunteer programs. I'm just not overseeing them at this time. So I'm focusing on the Parks program. And that's important. We want it to grow. We want it to develop. And it definitely is doing that. It's been great. Even the 8 months that I've actually been here, I've really seen it expand. And it's been great. We've got, even just in the first 2 months of this year, we have over 1,000 volunteer hours. So it is definitely, it's growing. And it's important that we focus on that program first and then move on to other ones.
So during this interview, we'll be talking about how they contact your program and also connect them with other opportunities.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Now, do you also work with other volunteer organizations and agencies?
I've worked with a few. One I've worked with is the Vancouver Watershed Alliance. They did a big park cleanup out at Frenchman's Bar Park and Vancouver Lake Park September 17th of last year. And we just helped facilitate and kind of brought tools and stuff like that. And I'm also working with the Fort Vancouver National Historic Site. Some volunteer leaders there and some park rangers. They're planning the Get Outdoors Day. It's a National Get Outdoors Day, and it's it's June 9th, and we're kind of planning a volunteer event there, and I'm helping with recruitment. And it's a big event apparently, and it's well attended, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes.
Right. How closely do you work with the City of Vancouver's volunteer coordinator?
Quite closely, actually. The commissioners really do want to see this as a joint program, and it's actually great to have that because you can bounce ideas off each other. You can really, planning events is a lot easier when you have two people, especially with our bigger, National Service Day events. We really try to, we work together for Martin Luther King Day. We work together for the Make a Difference Day challenge that we had, and when you have another person to work with, it's a lot easier to plan something. We've also been working on a couple of different new programs and policies. We're looking at launching an Adopt a Park program as well as an Adopt a Road program. So again, when you've got two people working on something, you get a lot more done real quick. So, sure. We've been working very closely.
Well, for the viewers at home, if they're thinking, oh, I want to volunteer, I want to get involved, let's kind of give them the nitty-gritty details behind it. So first, are there any age restrictions with volunteerism?
So there, we obviously welcome volunteers of all ages, but if we do have volunteers who are under the age of 18, we do ask that they have a minor consent form signed by their parent or guardian. It's a pretty simple form, and then they're welcome to volunteer on their own. If we have volunteers who are 13 years or younger, we do ask that a parent or guardian attend, them while they're volunteering, just for safety reasons.
Okay, and we kind of talked about some of the volunteer opportunities, planting trees, cleaning up parks, things like that. How do people sign up?
Okay, well, the best way to do it is to go to our new volunteer website, which is parkhero.org. That's probably like a one-stop shop for our volunteers. And on that website, we have the online volunteer application. It's a pretty simple, straightforward application. So that can be filled out there. And on that website, we also actually have we have a calendar of events for upcoming volunteer events to let the public know about, all the different opportunities that are out there. We also have a list of various individual volunteer opportunities. So if people are interested in, cleaning up a park or pulling invasive weeds, that type of work. So there is a list there. They can kind of access that. We've got all of our forms they can be accessed online as well. So that website is really a good place to go. Pictures, we put our volunteer newsletter up there. So it provides a lot of information about the Parks Volunteer Program.
Okay, parkhero.org. Now, how do you train volunteers?
So, this orientation is a very important aspect of volunteer work. We want to make sure that people know what they're expected to do. So if I have an individual volunteer, so say that's someone who wants to come in on their own and go out and volunteer at a park, I'll have them come in and we'll talk about safety, talk about liability, we'll talk about what the expectations are, we'll talk about their volunteer duties, and kind of give them an opportunity to ask any questions during that time too. And for, say, a group event, what I'll do is just run through a brief volunteer orientation prior to the event starting, where again, same types of details, safety, liability, and then, from there we just get the volunteers out. And in terms of training, we really want to make sure people are comfortable with what they're doing. A lot of our tasks are, don't necessarily require a lot of training, but, for instance, removing English ivy. That is something I do, we'll meet on site with a volunteer and I will show them how to properly do that. And again, if there's any training that's involved at a volunteer event, for instance, this past weekend at Hawkinson Park, we had a big tree planting, so we did demonstrate to the volunteers how to properly, plant a tree. So that's really important there. Then in terms of evaluation, it is, volunteer evaluation can be touchy because, we obviously appreciate all the work volunteers do. So a lot of it is, at a volunteer event, I'll kind of just walk around and just, kind of talk with people and suggest ways to do things a little bit differently if maybe it's not being done, just how we would like it to be done. But a lot of evaluation, though, is truly for what I can do better as a volunteer coordinator. So we do a lot of surveys after events to see what did you like, what didn't you like. So a lot of it is trying to get feedback from our volunteers so we can figure out how to, best support those volunteers.
Now, are there any particular skill sets that it's like, oh, if I just had a few more of
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that because I've been thinking, in terms of expanding just the parks program, right now we do a lot of regular maintenance activities, which are great, but what I would really like to see a lot of, getting people who are involved in graphic design to help me with flyers and brochures. Community outreach, this is a new program, so not a lot of people know about it. So I think it would be really helpful to get people out there who are willing to go talk with other groups or who are willing to talk to schools, et cetera, and just, kind of spread the word. I think that would be a great opportunity. Also, event planning, that would be great to have people there, or photography. It's one of those things where I'm often running around trying to make sure that we've got the volunteers are comfortable and if they need anything. And I often don't get as many pictures as I would like at volunteer events. So that's a big one.
And for those people who trying to get stuff for their resume, for example, looking for work, I know for myself, I volunteered on a number of different organizations to try to get experience and get things on the resume.
Absolutely, and we've got office work too. If anyone's interested in that, there's a lot behind the scenes that I think that people just aren't as aware of, and it's a great opportunity to build your resume for sure.
Great. What are some upcoming activities this spring that people can volunteer for?
It's going to be a busy spring, that's for sure. We've got a lot coming up. I'm working with the Northeast Hazeldale Neighborhood Association on February 25th and March 10th. We're going to be doing a park cleanup. There's an undeveloped park behind the Luke Jensen Sports Park. It's really neat. It's about 6 acres. Just got a little trail running through it, but there's a lot of debris. There's a lot of English ivy and other invasive plant species back there. So I'll be working with them to kind of clean that park up. Also, we'll be doing a volunteer event with the Girl Scouts out at Foley Park, which is also an undeveloped park. But there's an old orchard, a historic orchard there that probably not that many people are even aware of. It's a pear orchard. But Urban Abundance is a local nonprofit. They've been working hard to restore that orchard, and we're going to be working with the Girl Scouts to do a little event out there, so we'll be doing that. We've got a group of 1,300 youth from the Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints who would like to do some work for us in June. So that's going to be something that I'm very excited about that. I think that's a great opportunity to get a lot of people involved in their community. So we'll be doing that. And then I'm also going to be working with the Vancouver School of Arts and Academics in April to be doing an event on the National Day of Caring, which is April 25th.
Great. Now, as you mentioned, all these opportunities, people can find it at parkhero.org.
Yep, we'll post all of those events. They'll be online. I always have registration forms associated with the events. It's just helpful for me to know, how many people are coming, what we can expect for the day. So I always ask people to do register if they are going to be attending one of the events. But again, all those will be posted online.
Okay, parkhero.org.
Yep.
And then is there a telephone number people can call?
There is. My number is 360-397-6118, and my extension is 1627.
Great. Well, thank you all. Good luck with these volunteer opportunities.
Thank
you
you
both for meeting with us, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Great.
Jim.